The $11 billion robbery, the scam that almost bankrupted Nigeria. It started with a promise, a gas plant in Calabar that was never built, and ended with a secret contract that almost cost Nigeria $11 billion. The company was called Process and Industrial Developments, P&ID. They said they could turn gas into gold. But what they really did was forge a deal built on lies. When Nigeria failed to build a pipeline, P&ID sued and won. A tribunal in London awarded them $6.6 billion plus interest. The bill, over $11 billion. But what no one knew was that the entire contract was fake. Bribes, stolen legal documents, forged witness statements, a global web of deceit. And in 2023, the truth came out. Justice Robin Knowles called it corruption on an industrial scale. Nigeria didn't just win, it exposed the biggest arbitration fraud in history. This isn't fiction, this is forensic truth. The $11 billion robbery, streaming now.
The $11 billion robbery Calabar gas plant. How Nigeria fought back and won in the biggest arbitration fraud. The story begins.
In October 2023, the world watched as a quiet courtroom in London became the stage for a historic reckoning. Justice Robin Knowles of the High Court of England and Wales looked over years of evidence, and then, in calm but damning words, declared, this was a case of fraud, bribery, and corruption on an industrial scale. Nigeria had just overturned a judgment that could have cost the nation $11 billion. The largest arbitration award ever recorded against a sovereign state. To understand, we have to go back to 2010 to the humid coastal city of Calabar in Cross River State, Nigeria. The Nigeria's Ministry of Petroleum Resources signed a deal that looked promising. It was called the Gas Supply and Processing Agreement. Under this contract, a small company named Process and Industrial Developments Limited, P&ID, promised to build a gas processing plant. Nigeria would supply unprocessed wet gas, and P&ID would clean it into usable fuel, the kind needed to power homes and industries. Behind P&ID were two Irish businessmen, Michael Quinn and Brendan Cahill. They spoke the language of engineers, but their company had no equipment, no refinery, no staff, and no track record of building any plant anywhere in the world. Still, the Nigerian government signed. The ministry's legal director, Grace Tiger, oversaw the paperwork. Years later, forensic investigators would discover that she had received secret payments from P&ID-linked accounts, money she called a gift. The gas never flowed, and the plant was never built. Nigeria failed to provide the required pipeline infrastructure, and P&ID seized the opportunity. They claimed Nigeria had breached the contract and took the matter to arbitration in London. Under the London Court of International Arbitration, LCIA, 3 arbitrators presided, Lord Leonard Hoffman as chair, Sir Anthony Evans nominated by P&ID, and Chief Bayo Ojo San for Nigeria. In 2017, the tribunal ruled against Nigeria, awarding P&ID $6 billion plus 7% annual interest, an amount that swelled to $11 billion over time. That single decision threatened to bankrupt Africa's largest economy. At first, the world saw it as another failed government deal. But inside Nigeria, a few people refused to accept it as a mere contractual dispute. Something about P&ID didn't add up. Attorney General Abubakar Malami San and Solicitor General Dayo Apata began to dig. They formed a secret task force, lawyers, intelligence officers, and forensic accountants, to examine the original contract, the arbitration, and every bank record tied to it. What they found turned suspicion into certainty. The so-called gas project was a mirage built on fraud. The investigators uncovered evidence that P&ID had illegally obtained Nigeria's confidential legal documents. including internal memos and privileged strategies. These documents gave the company inside knowledge of Nigeria's defense during arbitration, allowing them to outmaneuver government lawyers at every turn. Forensic analysis of emails and digital metadata also revealed that witness statements had been doctored. Key testimony by P&ID's engineers had been rewritten after submission, edited to strengthen their false claims that the company was ready to build the plant. The deeper they looked, the darker it got. Bank records linked P&ID to a series of bribe payments to officials at the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, including Grace Tiger. Internal communications showed that the company had never secured land or permits for the gas plant. Meanwhile, P&ID's lawyers, led by Seamus Andrew and Trevor Burke KC, continued to insist that Nigeria was using corruption allegations as a convenient excuse for its own incompetence. They argued that P&ID had been a legitimate investor whose project was sabotaged by a disorganized government. But the facts didn't lie. In 2019, Nigeria challenged the arbitration award in London High Court, argued it was obtained by fraud. Representing Nigeria were Mark Howard KC of Brick Court Chambers and Roger Marsfield KC of Fountain Court Chambers, two of Britain's most respected barristers. Their strategy was simple: prove that the entire contract, from inception, was built on deception. They presented forensic evidence of bribes, fabricated documents, and stolen legal files. They showed how P&ID's founders, Quinn and Cahill, created shell companies to launder money and manipulate court proceedings. One by one, the lies unraveled. Emails produced during discovery revealed P&ID's internal communications, describing how to manage Nigerian officials. Witnesses who once appeared confident in arbitration began to contradict themselves under cross-examination. Even P&ID's own consultants admitted that the company had never had the capability to build such a complex facility. After months of hearings, Justice Robin Knowles reviewed the mountain of evidence. In his 140-page judgment delivered on October 23, 2023, he found that the arbitration award had been procured by fraud and contrary to public policy. He described P&ID's conduct as corruption on an industrial scale. With those words, the entire $11 billion judgment collapsed. For Nigeria, it was nothing short of salvation. Justice Knowles didn't stop there. He ordered P&ID to reimburse Nigeria's legal costs, about $20 million to be paid in foreign currency, not naira. The reasoning was clear. The services were rendered and billed abroad, so payment in the same currency was fair and proper. The courtroom erupted in quiet relief. For Nigeria's legal team, it was the culmination of years of relentless forensic work. For the country, it was a victory not just of law, but of truth. Outside, news cameras captured statements of triumph. Attorney General Malami called it a landmark judgment that restores faith in international justice. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu praised the ruling as a victory for every Nigerian, but beneath the celebration lay a sobering lesson. The P&ID case exposed the deep vulnerabilities of Nigeria's governance system, how weak oversight, poor due diligence, and internal corruption nearly cost an entire nation billions. Forensic investigators who worked the case called it a textbook example of modern white-collar crime, a story where the villains didn't carry guns, but pens, where the battleground wasn't the streets, but courtrooms and servers filled with stolen documents. In the end, the so-called gas plant site in Calabar remains an untouched piece of land, quiet, overgrown, and empty. No pipelines, no workers, no hum of engines, just silence, the echo of a project that never was. And yet, that empty land tells a powerful story. It reminds the world that the most dangerous crimes can wear the mask of legitimacy, that billions can be stolen not through violence, but through contracts, that the corruption of a few officials can imperil the future of millions. The P&ID saga will forever stand as one of the most remarkable turnarounds in legal history, a case where forensic evidence, perseverance, and the pursuit of truth reversed what once looked like inevitable defeat. Nigeria's victory in London wasn't just about reclaiming money, it was about reclaiming dignity, proving that with transparency and determination, even the largest international fraud can be exposed. In the words of Justice Knowles himself, the awards were obtained by fraud, and their enforcement would offend the public conscience. The case of Process and Industrial Developments Limited versus the Federal Republic of Nigeria now serves as a warning, not just to governments, but to the global financial system, that corruption, no matter how cleverly disguised, leaves fingerprints. For every forged signature, every hidden payment, every stolen document, there is a forensic trail waiting to be found. And sometimes,
You've just watched Forensic Audit, where every balance sheet hides a secret. Subscribe now and uncover the next investigation.